Hello, I'm Elizabeth at the Middle Ground. I am here again with another reaction video. Today's reaction is going to be to AOC, Ocasio-Cortez. That's right. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. Because there's a lot to react to here, right? She's been in Congress and been on the national scene for 3 years now. We've got a couple of different stages of her career so far I can respond to, so let's start at the beginning. When she was elected, she had a lot of attention. She had a lot of publicity. She had a big megaphone that everyone on the progressive side felt like she was giving them. I want to compare this to my last reaction video where I talked about Georgia voters. I think it's still very biased in saying that because she has a megaphone for young liberal New England voters, that's a megaphone that the whole country wants to hear. I think I have a problem with progressives deciding that they get to define what the word progressive means. If you watch some of my policy videos as a moderate, I like to think that I listen to and address progressive policies in a very grounded way. And so, why is your definition of progressive better than mine? Why do you get to be the owner of the meaning of this word? So that was my initial reaction to Cortez kind of co-opting this word progressive when it really just meant super liberal. She is definitely on the Bernie Sanders train that has derailed. I guess I'll do a reaction to Bernie Sanders another time. That would be fun. And it's not the way the rest of the country feels. So let's fast forward to when she started in politics in Washington, D.C., and decided she was very entitled with this voice, and she was very loud, and she was going to steamroll politics in Washington, D.C. I'm sure it's a very common reaction of many young politicians to feel this way. They're hyped up from their campaign, that all of these ideas that people believe in them. She was hailed as the next president. So I want to sidebar here. She is a woman, and so I do have a moderate reaction to her. I am surrounded by people who react to her, and sometimes their reactions contain misogyny. So I am a woman. I want to note the misogyny in some of the reactions to Cortez and say that it's not okay and I don't agree with it. So everything I'm going to respond to AOC is going to be as a woman, based on policy, based on behavior, but not based on gender. So I would appreciate the media would start taking the gender out of the responses to her and start reacting to her behavior and her policies instead, and not make any commentary about her gender. Thank you. Now to continue. Loud does not mean a leader. Just because she has all of these people in New York saying that she's fabulous and agrees with what they believe in doesn't mean she's an expert and doesn't mean she represents the interests of the rest of the country. So I think definitely if she applies herself and she becomes more of an expert in some of these policies she wants to discuss, then more power to her. It would be great to see her mature as a politician. So obviously, the next thing she did while she had all of this attention drawn to her was this Green New Deal. Please see my energy policy. I'll link it below. In my energy policy discussion, I talk about the liberals who have these head in the clouds ideologies that are not grounded in implementation realities. Her Green New Deal was no different. Pelosi agrees with me. Nancy Pelosi and I do not often agree on much, but I can agree with Nancy Pelosi on this issue. And I don't think it's because Nancy Pelosi is a old-fashioned Democrat, liberal Democrat. It's because it was badly written policy. See my discussion about the recent federal voting law. Fits into the same category. This is a common problem in the Democratic Party, particularly steamrolled by Bernie Sanders with his ideas that are up here, not rooted down here in reality on the ground. So I don't think I need to go into much more detail about the Green New Deal. You can reference my economic policy if you want to know where I stand. Energy policy if you want to know how I stand on that. Compare my energy policy with the Green New Deal. There you have it. Moving on in AOC's career. So my moderate response to AOC in coming in and with all of her vitriol in 2019, we had a lot of these young progressive congressional candidates. Many of them were women, and many of them just made inappropriate remarks for politicians. So, of course, there was a lot of backlash from the right about some of that. Again, I'm here as a moderate. It's not really backlash. I'm just observing that it really wasn't appropriate or mature. And that said, her attitude coming in with this kind of entitlement that everyone should do her things her way because she's special, lost her political credibility. So every freshman politician coming into Washington, D.C. knows that they have to gain traction. They have to build a foundation so they can learn how to do business with everyone else, all of their other colleagues. Now, granted, some of the Democratic colleagues have had some real doozies thrown at them, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I guess I can do a reaction to Marjorie Taylor Greene coming up soon. So obviously not every politician on the Hill is willing or mature enough to work together and to do business, but there are many who are. And so we would love to see more of our elected officials continue working together and listening to each other. As a Georgia voter, I definitely have voted out many Republican elected officials because they have not. Another topic, I know. Sorry, I get sidetracked. So that's dominated a lot of her career so far in the last couple of years because she went in so hot. She just called people names. I think this is part of the problem. If you don't agree with her ideas, she can't find a way to find common ground with you. So here's my reaction and newsflash to AOC. We share some common ground on things we'd like to accomplish, but I don't agree with all your ideas and I don't agree with your behavior. So that's, in a nutshell, my overall response to AOC. I think sums it up this fall when she went to the Met Gala. I mean, come on, it's low-hanging fruit. If you want a reaction from me, video from me, I've got to include it. So I think the obvious statement here is that she spent tens of thousands of dollars on a Met Gala ticket to go be around rich people, to snub her nose at them and tell them that she was going to tax them all. I will get to taxation policy at another time. I will not get off on a sidetrack about that. But I mean, this is the underlying issue. I would love to see her mature. I would love to see her start to do the work, do the research into policies that you want to implement. Start making them grounded. You are not an expert in policy right now. Stop pretending you are. Having ideas does not make you an expert. Doing work and doing research makes you an expert. I mean, you could probably use your Green New Deal as a starting point and find people who will help you pick that apart and find all the holes in it. Because if you use that as a lesson, then maybe you could apply it to the voting rights bill that was also horribly written. So you could be a leader, but you aren't, people have called you a leader. I don't think being loud is being a leader. On that note, to close out the video, and the last thing I'll react to with AOC was her trip to Scotland. I don't think many of you know yet that I have worked with the team in the Scottish government when Nicola Sturgeon became a leader, discussing her development of leadership. And it may be being different as that we see from many men, because we don't see many examples from women leaders about what their leadership could look like. So Nicola Sturgeon, I suggested they give her space to be authentic. She has a lot of great leadership traits and qualities that are innate to her, but don't necessarily look like her predecessor at all. See my notes on being loud and being a leader. So I'm so happy that Cortez met Sturgeon. If she wants role models about creating more solid policy, this is a great example right here. If Cortez wants models to follow, how to mature as a politician, how to become a better policymaker, then dial up Nicola Sturgeon. I hope that she'll take some time to mentor you. That would be a great partnership. So that's my reaction to Cortez here on the Middle Ground. Thank you so much for joining me today. More reactions coming soon.